All right, guys, good night. Welcome to Caribbean Culture and Lifestyle. All right, guys, I'm going to run a video tonight. I do not own the rights to this video, but this video have a lot of information. This video is bush tea herbs, plants. Okay, all right. So basically, we're gonna be walking around. We're gonna be watching this video where they're gonna be actually walking around and showing us herbs, different type of herbs from the Caribbean, Barbados. And so I gotta say shout out to NCF Barbados for this video, man. This is a real powerful video with some great information. But as always, guys, don't forget disclaimer. This video is for informational purpose. If you have any situation and you need help, please seek a professional. Please seek a doctor before, all right? So I'm gonna be running this video where we could definitely learn something tonight. You know what I'm saying? So let's go, man. Let's go with this, guys. Let's go. All right. Wait, I wasn't even showing the video. Give me a second, guys. Give me 1 second, all right? All right, let me present. Give me a second. All right. In this clip, guys, I'm going to be stopping the video and I'm going to be talking. So this video is not going to play right through. I'm going to be stopping and we're going to be talking about, about the herbs them. So stay tuned and let's get going.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on this series, Bush Tea, Herbs, Plants, and Botanical Stories of Barbados. I'm Aisha Gibson Gill, and this is a production of the National Cultural Foundation. Welcome and thank you for joining us here at Ngozi's Farm and Cultural Sanctuary. We are here as part of a series talking about Barbadian plants and herbs. We're going to be talking about the lore of the land and its plants and the lure of the land and its plants. Barbados and Barbadians have a very complex relationship with land and agriculture based on the history of sugar and the enslavement of hundreds of thousands of Africans. And part of that lore is people having a very contentious relationship with land. But part of our lore as humans is not a contentious relationship with land. It is where we go for sanctuary. It is where we go for grounding. And particularly during this COVID pandemic, we have come back to our kitchen gardens. We have come back to sitting under our trees. We have started asking the elders and going back and saying, what are these plants for? What are these wild and or cultivated plants about? So here on Ngozi's Farm and Cultural Sanctuary, who have been doing that research, who have been living that life. You're going to see plants that you might be familiar with and learn names that you aren't familiar with. You're going to see plants that you only know about food or using them in one commercial sense. And you're going to hear all about the spiritual connections because the lure of the land and the lore of the land is multi-layered. Welcome.
Hi, greetings and a pleasant good morning. My name is Irika Jelani. I'm a cultural practitioner for over 30, 40 years and interacting with plants, and herbs in a number of different ways, both in terms of my creative arts, with my basket work, utilizing a variety of indigenous plants and materials, like pandanus, the cuscus grass, and different things. But this farm is just another work in progress and a lifelong dream and a vision to bring all of our talents together, within a sustainable development meditation.
You said you're a cultural practitioner and it's a farm and cultural center because farming is part of cultural practice.
Well, because all the materials are grown on the earth, and the earth is nature, is very important, and it's the sustenance of mankind. And Mother Earth, we have to revere and deal with Mother Earth in a sacred way. And I think that's how it
Hey, good
responds to
is
us
home,
because
said how
it
you
feeds us,
doing? Thank you for
it
being
clothes
there,
us, and it
sis.
provides shelter. The three
This
necessities of
this
life.
video
And you've
is
always felt like
this is
the
a
connection to
beautiful
the earth. So
video,
this is
man.
like a
I'm
dream,
telling
having
you.
a farm and this place you could put your hands in the
Yes.
ground and grow for food, for health and sustenance, and for spiritual connection is why land
It's
and
very
the space
important.
is important.
Yes, and you always come out in Barbados, and you hear Barbados parlance about a piece of the rock.
Yes.
And when we go beyond that, as a Rastafari woman, as a woman that come up with a Vincentian mother that just passed
All
on
right. Good to
yesterday,
see you too, sis.
you know, she was a spiritual Baptist converted, and she instilled a lot of that discipline in us. And then through my studies and thing and observing and learning more about Orisha and Afro spiritual traditions, Afro Caribbean to be specific, and the way the syncretize, the way they syncretize the various forms,
Right.
and to come to this. So earth for me is important because natural food, natural living, vital food, vital is vital. And we have to deal with food security. You understand? And especially within a time like this, food is important because every nation should be able to feed itself.
Yes.
And the earth provide our food, it provide the herbs for medicine to help us in different ways. And I think that that's what is important.
And we're gonna go down into, well, I call it the bush, but down into the farm, we're
Yes.
going to look at and identify the plants and herbs. But some of these things you planted deliberately in specific places to either have symbolic connection to practices that you, like, as you mentioned, Rastafari, Orisha, spiritual Baptist, Afro Caribbean significances of colors of plants and styles of plants. And one of the first things that we noticed when we came in was this stand of royal
Royal
palms. And I
palms.
looked at it and I went, okay, every time I see royal palms in Barbados and most of the Caribbean in a straight line, I know it was a driveway somewhere. And then you came and said, oh, this was the yard
Yeah,
of
and
Turner's Hall Plantation. I
yeah,
went,
and
okay,
I do boundaries, set
right.
boundary
Looking
lines.
at boundaries. So
And
no boundary lines. But what are these plants and why are they specifically here by this structure?
well, this space, as the name said, Ngosi's Farm and Cultural Sanctuary, embodies the whole cultural,
Yes, yes.
agro-cultural, spiritual,
Okay.
the agricultural component,
Here we
the
go.
cultural component, and the spiritual component. On every spiritual area that I've been to across the Caribbean,
Yes.
you find specific plants like the sega leaf,
Uh-huh.
the physic nut, the exora plant, and the bungu plant
I
is
am
one of them.
glad you said the Exora plant because when you were cleaning the space and doing the libations in your calabash, I saw that in the liquid you had a whole set of Exora plant. Can you
Yes.
explain the significance? Is it the color? Is it the style? What is it about the Exora plant?
The exora plant is very important.
Exora plant is traditional Barbadian gardens. There's certain plants that you just find, but nobody necessarily explicitly explains to you why every house you went at, your grandmother would have a lime tree, a pea tree, a rose tree, this, croton, etc. So what
So
is it about this?
what we will do, when you're doing baths, you have different types of bath,
Yes, ma'am.
and just hold this at your lips and stop. What do you get?
Nectar, sweet, sweet.
Right. So you do a sweet bath, and you use these in baths that you represent as sweet baths, prosperity baths, success baths.
Ah.
So it's very important, and everything has its own secrets. And within spirituality, not everything is told.
Exactly.
So you learned something today.
I
So the
did.
exora plant is important because it represents color, life, and also is
Sweetness.
sweetness.
The
Add sweetness
sweetness.
to your life.
Okay. Well, no, I know. As little children, we knew about the sweetness, but that you said the connection, the some secrets you have to live into.
Live into, and you learn as you go. Yeah, and the elders taught us a number of things, but you don't learn it simply on one go.
Right.
It's a continuous process, and that's how knowledge is transferred and transmitted.
Okay.
Because a lot of the oral traditions has been lost. But one of the main things that has remained is the use of plants and herbs among Afro-Caribbean people.
I am Dr. Anthony Richards. I'm a biochemist from Antigua and Barbuda. My interests lie these days with the uses of plants in Barbados and how traditions came over from Africa.
Good morning, Dr. Richards. Thank you for
Morning.
coming. Um, no, I said it was a perfect segue because one of the things that you do is not just looking at the plants and their current uses. You're also very much interested in traditional uses and how they're used on the continent, how they were used in the past, and then how they're used now. I'm correct, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So one of the first things she talked about was the boundary plant, and she said that it was you said it was kind of a Caribbean replacement for a plant that the Dahomey use.
Yes.
What can you tell us about the use, perhaps? I don't want to say traditional, but traditional African use, or what it represents, or what it could be replacing.
Okay. I noticed this plant in graveyards.
Yes.
Okay, so I visited over more than 60 graveyards in the Caribbean to look at what plants there are there.
Mm-hmm.
Why? The plantation owners left the Africans alone to bury their dead for most of the period of enslavement. So the traditions that they brought from their homelands were practiced for a very long time. So
Oh.
just like we still have some of our foodways, conkeys and so on, left over from Africa, I look into the graveyards to see if we have memories there of our mortuary practices. Right.
Right.
So you find that this red plant,
Let's
which is
go to that.
cordyline,
Mm-hmm.
the cordyline fructicosa, is is very common in graveyards.
All right, guys, I'm gonna be talking through this video, okay? But there's so much to learn in these videos, you know what I mean? Because what they do, they talk about the plant and they also tell you what our the ancestors used to use it for. You know what I'm saying? So yes, this is really interesting, and these people is very knowledgeable about this because this is what they do. You know, and that's the thing. When you're doing stuff and you using and you experiencing, it's a big difference than just looking at it. All right, let's go on, guys.
Across the Caribbean. I have a story for you. A Barbadian history professor was given one of these plants when she moved into her new home and was told, "This is your money plant. Plant it in your yard for good luck." Then she went to Trinidad to the funeral of another professor's mother, Tobago actually. And when she got there, lo and behold, this plant was her money plant was all over the cemetery. So that was a bit of a shock. Right? This plant turns up at shrines and graveyards in the Caribbean, and a very similar plant turns up at shrines, graveyards, palaces, all over tropical Africa. The story that we think we've constructed, right, involves a replacement. Over in Africa, the green plant Dracaena is planted on graves. It catches root very easily, right? Very easy to propagate, and and may have been used by people as they migrated to mark their new homes.
Okay.
Right? When the Africans were forced into the Caribbean, they did not find that plant here. They didn't find the green plant that they wanted. However, another plant arrived on the same boat that brought us the breadfruit. It was this plant coming from Tahiti.
Oh.
It's a close relative of the plant in Africa. Right? And it was also used to mark graves. The Maroons in Jamaica planted along their boundary
Okay.
between Maroon country and Jamaican government country. Right? And the chief of Motown Maroons, um, the chief of Motown Maroons, uh, the colonel there, told me that when he was a boy, he was taken to the boundary and made to plant one of these plants. And then they gave him a sound flogging so that he would remember the day. Because every child must know the extent of Maroon land.
Okay. Irika, you had told us that this was the
Wow.
yard for Turner's Hall. And when we first came in, the first thing we saw was these. And then, Dr. Richards, you were telling us that the Amerindians also use the visual of royal palms for identifying space in a different way, not necessarily to mark your boundary to your great house or your plantation yard, but for another reason altogether.
They're really beautiful.
They are.
Yes, it's believed that the First Nations people here in the Caribbean, the Kalinago and particularly the Taino, recognized that these trees were often found along the gullies and guts, watercourses. You know, the seeds fall and then spring up downhill. So
That's beautiful, man.
they would be
Wow.
able to use these to navigate across the large island like Puerto Rico, even a small island like Barbados. Um, later,
Oh.
later on, I guess, it said that the same sort of principle would have been used by people in Barbados when the whole island was sugarcane, right? And you'd be able to look at a distance and see the royal
Yes.
palms and make your way home.
And if, as we,
Then what we do, we use the bark from the tree then to weave baskets and so
okay,
on. So when the bark from the royal palm fall, then we strip it in straight and plait
and place it into
into
baskets
basket.
That's the base of the leaf.
down there.
Yes.
The base of the leaf that you can see hanging.
Right.
So we have these multiple uses by people who are mapping and encoding the space visually using plants.
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit earlier, we were talking about the boundary, and you were saying that there was this, it's a Shango tree.
Yes, yes. The Orisha Shango is associated with tall trees, right? The Orisha Shango is
Hey,
the
Archie,
Orisha of
living life. How
lightning.
you doing?
So it's well known that these trees, the royal palms, are frequently struck by lightning, and they represent an altar to Shango. Shango exalted, right up at the top of the royal palm.
Right.
Spire, yeah.
Okay, because of natural lightning rod.
That's it.
So
And this stately, tall, stately, elegant look.
so it would have been a real interesting like cognitive dissonance where you know that these are altars, but yet they're used to demarcate
Yes.
where the oppressor and the great host is. It's a
Yes.
very
Say
interesting
for
kind of
instance,
double mapping.
like we can stay here now and look at those palm trees in the distance.
Yes.
And then you know that is where the spring is. That's where the breakaway turn salt spring
So
is.
everything has this two
Yeah,
sides, you
yeah,
know,
you
the light
mark
side and the
boundaries.
dark
Yeah.
side.
So that patch over there. So we go that way, and once we get there, we know we're near the spring.
My name is Ross Isles. I'm a herbalist and a spiritual healer, an educator. How I come about to know this thing, I raised with my grandmother, and she was a midwife. So I was the youth that used to move around with her, and basically I started to learn herbs, and then as I get courage and so I pick up books and start to study it, and then move on to the world.
Oh, so what are the multiple names of this plant again?
Kojuru,
Could
Bush
you
doctor,
bush doctor,
gully root,
gully root,
guinea hen leaf,
guinea hen? Oh, guinea hen weed. You can see why. And what was the fancy line?
This is Petiveria
Mm-hmm.
aliaceae. Aliaceae means that it smells like garlic.
Garlic, and you were saying you up to yesterday you cook.
Yeah, I'm with it instead of garlic right now.
Okay, guys, check out the name of these herbs that they mentioning, and also pay attention to them because you just never know. You might just have them in your backyard, or you might just be seeing them in the road on the roadside. You see what I'm saying? Many plants, you know. In this video, you're gonna learn a lot about different herbs. Maybe you should get your pen and your paper, honestly, and write down some names. This is for, yeah, you know, let's move on.
and you
Yeah.
use the tender leaves
Yeah. You
to
can
get
chew it, take a little leaf and taste it, and you see garlic in it.
and get a garlic
On my
flavor.
fingers now.
Yeah, it's very
But it's not an unpleasant garlic smell. It's a real nice
man.
green.
Yeah. This is
Oh,
the real
Power
garlic.
plant.
yes, this is spectacular. I've heard about gully root, but in the mixtures that people tend to drink when they
I
throw
take it right
everything.
from West Africa also, right?
Oh.
You see the name Kujo,
Mm.
yeah, being a Ghanaian day name, right? And then there is a huge amount of scientific research into this plant. But what's interesting is that a Jamaican professor has patented its use against breast cancer. Okay. Um, yeah. So
So patented the use and what part is it? The leaves, the root, the
Whole
seed,
plant.
the whole plant. What is he using in his
now I would
anti-breast
have to
cancer?
look at the patent to know what he's using. But traditionally, the leaves and the root were used for different. The root, gully root, is very very potent. You know, the smell is quite strong.
The root is the most powerful export. I had this old time saying, 'cause I raised with my grandmother, which was a midwife, and she used to put up this here, the root, but uh, some liquid, some kind of liquid, but you used to use it for worms.
Ah, the root.
Yes.
Because I know about the gully root being
It's so
powerful.
powerful, it can rotten your kidneys and burn, scorch your liver also, right?
All right, guys, they're talking about the gully root, right? It's a root they call it gully root, but it's a powerful plant. It's really powerful. This is why we always talk about dosage. Dosage is important. Listen to what he said. He's saying that it's so powerful, it could, you know, listen to what he said.
It's hot. You see, that's why you use it as garlic.
I tell you what,
Yeah, because it's a very peppery kind of
Right.
bitter taste, and I know they say that the bitter is good for your liver and for your kidneys, but you're saying that it's also powerful that you have to be
Very
careful with the dosing.
With
Yeah.
the root, especially
root.
the root, right?
a babalo, I asked the Baba about this plant because although it's often planted around shrines, you find it at the edge, right? And he says it's a very sensitive matter. This plant, you know, is such a cure for so many things that the old time people will think
Hey, life from scratch, how you doing? Thank you for being here.
of it as casting out evil spirits.
Evil spirits.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right.
And some
Right.
people don't want it around the shrine because then
It might cast out all of the good spirits
That's
too.
right, spirits.
Ow.
Curative power.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful milk thistle over here, the yellow. We were having a conversation about that before. You you were saying that it is used as a cure for malaria in West Africa.
Yeah, right now. This time,
Right now,
Yeah, modern, more modern, right?
can we get closer to it and kind of?
Also, these falls here, right? They feed birds, you know, like the season here, you feed the wadabs and you have to got pigeons and things. And the seeds high in oil, right? So the seeds even having properties, right? See the seeds there? Very high. So they call it Mexican poppy. If you can research it, you research it on the Mexican poppy. Why? Because in that it's actually work like the Mexican poppy. You get oil from the seeds. I can't remember the name of the oil. And the plant also, right? But it's used for the reproductive organs also. It's used for mucus. I know it as burdock due to the fact he's feeding the birds with the seeds. And Mexican poppy, right?
Yeah, the scientific name is Agemone
Right.
mexicana.
Right.
right? I believe it is a New World plant, but I've seen it in Africa, so it must have got over there.
Right.
Now, what I was reading recently is that this plant, it has stimulated a whole new branch of research, okay, um, which is being called something like reverse ethnobotany. In the questions, take the plant back to the lab,
Right.
and then in the lab, you take a Western approach to medicine, right? Um, Now, a group of researchers went to Mali, and there they spoke to the healer in Mali about the plant. Then they watched the healer give a certain dose to a person who was suffering from malaria. They then monitored the person by taking blood on different days and counting the number of malarial parasites, right, in a droplet of blood. So they were able to track the
Right.
decline of the malarial
Right.
parasite, right, in situ, right there. So it's a complete
Right.
reverse approach,
Okay.
yeah, where what the healer says takes precedence.
So,
You know, for myself too, right? I use it and I use it for my urinal tract. You see, it got a yellow substance. I call it gold, right? Probably the carry the scientific name. So normally when you drink it, you know, for your urinal tract, your urine can come gold, right? So I would tell myself that's the process of the cleansing, right? Then it can come back normal, right? The goldness is come from this.
and like, how long would you use it for if you're doing cleansing?
Well, it depends on how I feel, right? My own instinct.
Mhm. So, sister, you can know you're saying that there's a specific way that women now use this plant.
Well, from the time they come up, we know it as yellow dot. It is very, very, very bitter. And the yellow
All right, guys, you hear what they say? Yellow duck. Listen to what she gonna be explaining about yellow duck, and I'm sure yellow duck may be growing right in your backyard. But listen to what she's saying about yellow duck. It's a bitter. It's a it's bitter. Let she explain.
juice that Rasayas was speaking about, if you put it on your tongue, it's bitter like gall. And what I learned about the plant is that it's very good for purifying your blood and the bitters and so on. So that's how we use it, and to help remove any impurities and stuff like that. But as a plant, you have to be very careful. Everything you use in moderation and not over
And I always tell you that plants that carry prickles very high, right? That's the protection, you see?
protection. Yeah.
Can I say something about safety and dose? Um, Many people in Barbados and elsewhere will, of course, be concerned, right, about the safety of the use of the plant and what dose should I use? What are the side effects? Okay. And this is a very important question. So, over the years, scientists in the Caribbean have tried to address this question. There is one research project which involves a voluntary group of scientists that's been going on for about 40 years, more than 40 years. It is called TRAMIL, right? That is the scientific validation of Caribbean herbal plant use. Scientific validation of Caribbean herbal plant use. TRAMIL. You can find it online at tramil.net. TRAMIL.net. Right? I'll write the website for you. When you get there, what you will find is that in every Caribbean island that participated,
Yeah.
um, there's a team that went from house to house, and Barbados participated. They would speak to the head of the household, usually a woman, and ask, the last time that you got a cold, yeah, what did you use? If she said you went to the doctor, they said, fine. The last time you had a stomachache, what did you use? When she mentions a herb, they would collect that herb and then take it to a herbal library, right, which is called what's it, herbarium. right, where the herbs are dried and kept.
Dried
So
and
the herbarium that we use is in Trinidad, and there's another in Puerto Rico. Good. Now, all the countries which touch the Caribbean Sea participated, right? So that's Cuba, that's Guadeloupe, Martinique, Antigua, the islands, and then Mexico. I have colleagues in Yucatan, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, yes? And we meet whenever we can raise the funds to compare laboratory results because that plant is taken to the laboratory and tested in the lab. The output is the beginnings of the Caribbean herbal pharmacopoeia. What's a pharmacopoeia? Yeah. It's the book that every country has, which says these drugs are approved for use in this country. Barbados has a national drug pharmacopoeia. What we don't have is a national herbal pharmacopoeia, which many countries do, right? Britain has one, the United States has one. So we're working on towards a Caribbean herbal pharmacopoeia. Yeah.
You guys hear that,
This is
right?
Spanish needle. This is an anti-inflammatory. This is one of my favorite herbs.
Spanish needle.
Right. I could talk about it, right? So if you're looking for this one, go look for this one on this Spanish needle. There's another one that looks like there, that's a flower, right? This is a vegetable. Right? This herb came from Asia and India, and they still cultivate it as a vegetable, right? So you eat it and it looks like this thing. It's stir fried, you cook it, anything, salad, anything, right? These seed balls now, these dry seeds now, the Spanish needle, what you get in Spanish, you just stick in your clothes like needle. So if you have a light sore now that in healing, the seeds, the dry things that stick in you, you grind it in a powder and you put it into the light sore, right? So it's also a vegetable and a medicine.
The plant, they call it Spanish needle. All right? Some of them look pretty familiar, I'm telling you. I will like to look at the fact. I agree with you, Orgy Living Life. I agree with you. I agree with you. Yes, you should.
Have you heard of the Three Sisters? Well, the native people of the Caribbean, Kalinaga, would plant, have an organic farming system whereby they'd have a stalk of corn, right? Plant that, and then the pumpkin vine and the beans would climb the stalk, right, of corn, and the pumpkin squash would also cover the ground, right, to protect it from weeds, slow the weed growth and provide slow down evaporation. Right. So those are the Three Sisters.
Right.
Yeah, the Three Sisters. Yeah. And now I've heard that in some parts of North America, this was a fourth sister. Yeah, and it was planted there to attract pollinators. Right. Yeah, especially in drier areas, attract the bees and butterflies to the squash. Yeah.
So the plant here, it's still cultivated in India and Asia to make commercial oil, right? The industrial farming.
That plant, I know that plant. I know that plant. I know that plant. But hey, I can't remember the name, but I know that plant.
Now, when a woman have a young baby, I learned it from my grandmother, right? With a midwife. A woman have a young baby and she have problem producing milk, right? You just take one of these leaves, right? A piece, and you put it in the brazier, right? And the breast will start to produce milk.
You hear what he said there? What he said there is that leaf, pick there, right? What he's saying, if a lady, they used to use that leaf like if a lady now have baby and she not producing any breast milk, all she had also to take that leaf, wrap it up and put it in her bra, and just like that, milk start coming. I mean,
now I know about
It's for
using
pulling.
right because it pulls out inflammation if you have a cold on your head. It pulls out inflammation if you have a cold on it.
and here again, it's also draw information out of you. You have cold, it draw out the mucus. You have information in your body, it pulls it out.
Just so it seems to it pulls down the milk too.
Anthrax is a deadly disease, right? Carried by microorganisms, and it affects sheep and goats especially, right? But what you're pointing out there is that a biotoxin, anthrax is used as a biological weapon.
Right.
And so can ricin from the plant ricinus, right? This plant ricinus communis has seeds, very valuable seeds,
Yes.
which give us castor oil
Right.
when pressed. But what's left over in the matter left behind after the oil is pressed is the protein ricin, which is one of the most potent toxins known to man. Yeah, this is the source of ricin, the plant Ricinus communis. Now, you were saying how your grand showed you how to use that leaf,
But
but
they showed me.
yeah,
But you know, when you're around as a
right,
child, the elders in the house, and she was a
right,
midwife, you hear things, right?
right. Well, I saw how they would bind the leaf around an aching joint or
Yes.
even aching hand, like that,
Like it.
putting it between there and then binding the cloth around it.
Yes.
Yeah, um,
Another thing in it too,
that's a
right?
tradition.
That'd be good. Right now, the British have this here listed as a biological weapon.
Ricin um, has been studied as um, an agent to destroy cancer.
Mm.
Yeah? Somebody has looked at how you could direct ricin straight to the cancer cell.
You're right.
Yeah,
Or
and
using
then
it for breast cancer.
let it kill the cancer cell.
Yes.
So that would be a pharmaceutical developed
Right,
by
right.
biotechnology. Yeah.
Well, here we have the noni tree I'm sitting under. It, this plant is very significant within the Caribbean space. And what we use it for, in addition to pain, the elders taught us you would take the leaves, quail it on the stove, back and front, and then you would put it on areas of the body that have pain or swelling. And they call this is a kind of sweat bush. So you sleep with it, ban it. If it's a hand, you put it over, or you always use this part, and then you wrap it with a cloth. So once you quail it over the stove, you wrap it with a cloth and leave it, and more than likely you get results. And the fruits, or you wrap it on the head all around, and it helps you say you sweat your head with the dog dumpling leaf. Swelling, pain, and to ease any kind of tension in the body. And the fruits, what we do, we take them, put them in a container or jar, and as they ripen, they break down. And then you use the juice, whether by teaspoonful or how the spirit direct you, to assist with healing and different things in the body.
This is the famous plant which has come to be called noni. But in Barbados before that, it was called dog dumpling because of the very characteristic fruits, which look like something that the dog would leave. Behind, and it has terrible smell when it falls and decomposes. Um, it became very popular in the late
Yes, yes,
1990s
yes.
when a pyramid marketing scheme came into the Caribbean selling the juice of the noni fruit at 40 US dollars for
The nuni fruit, the plants, like I know was saying, is grows in a cold hardy. I know get a small one. So look at the plant, guys. Sometimes you have the plants, man, you don't even know. I'm telling you.
for 8 ounces, and and then farmers got very keen in cultivating it, so it had a revival. But traditionally, this plant had many uses in the Caribbean. Uh, for instance, the leaf was used to treat pain on the outside of the body, used externally to treat pain, very much like the oil leaf was used, And the
All right,
root
Dorothy. Okay, all
was
right.
used, was chopped up and
We
thrown
got
into the
the
sea,
plant right
and
there.
it would bring up fish. It would bring up fish in the Virgin Islands in particular. And in Trinidad, I think that the fruit was squeezed, the juice is expressed, and then the material left behind was used to put in the hair to treat against, to repel head lice. Right? Another name that was used in the Caribbean back before Noni was the Jumbi soursop. Right? It looks very much like a soursop, but it's not a soursop. So Dappy soursop, Jumpy soursop, Monkey soursop. So there you go.
So now you split these seeds into, right? You could take these seeds here and you roast them and you eat them like as a delicacy.
Interesting.
Yeah, you roast the seeds.
Mhm.
Also, the fruit is used during in different stages, right? For medicine when it's green, and also it's used like pineapple. So if you got a dessert now, you can slice it before you get to this soft stage, right? And you eat it as like a pineapple, right? It might be strange to me because we're accustomed to these things, right? But back in Tahiti and things, people use it that way, you know?
Oh yes, it has a very high reputation in
Right,
Tahiti,
right,
and there are even varieties of which there which don't smell so bad.
right. Different,
Right? A gentleman I know brought back some from Tahiti, which growing in Antigua, which don't
right.
smell bad at all.
This plant that is here, we call this the whitehead bush. And from coming up from a child, I see the elders using it. It assists with skin problems. If you have boils or any rashes on the skin, they would tell you boil this and bathe with it. Or what they use it for a lot is to clean the house, especially in those days when you had like wooden floors. They would always use this to scrub the house and so on.
The scientific name is Parthenium hysterophorus, and you hear hystero like hysterectomy. It means womb because it produces so many young. So it's a pernicious weed, right, of agriculture.
This small plant here is called Cupid paintbrush, right? Or salsifol. It's a thistle, and I come up small, feeding the rabbit for it, feeding the rabbit with it. But now I get big, I realize that I know that it's a vegetable, so you can cook it and you can eat it. Also, it's deal with mucus and deal with lung problems. The flowers is edible, so if you got a salad or anything, so you could use the flowers as edible flowers, right? Well, this is information bush, right? If you look at it carefully, look at the flowers, it look like your cells, right? But this is deal with your white T cells in your body, which is it's carry all that help memorize them. So which means that it stop virus from entering your body. Virus could be a cold, anything so. So this is actually build up your immune system, right? It's one of the most wildest plants that's growing in Barbados. And if you see this here now, animals are through here, cows and sheep, immediately see eat down, right? And you see the cows don't got their coal and how nice the voice and things is be. This is what you be eating, the information bush, right? So you make a tea with this here, and you steep it, right?
Whole plant or
The whole
flowers?
plant, the whole plant, right? You dry it a couple of days, and then you boil water, and you pour over it, and you cup it down, you drink it, right? And it will help your immune system, help memorize your T cells and things, your white cells in your body, and keep viruses out of your body. So I realized that the animals, this is one of the most wildest plants. You can see this here growing all alongside the road, anything so, right? The immune system, it deals with viruses in your body, right? It stop viruses from in here. Virus is a cold, anything so. Just the same corona is a virus, right? So what this is do once your immune system charged, these things cannot enter you. Right? Then you got a body that can fight them off, right? So this is how build your immune system.
Right. This one now is the famous river tamarind. Um, I guess called river tamarind because you find it so commonly down in gullies and so on. It belongs to the pea family. You can see the peas here, and the pea family has some subfamilies in it. This one belongs to the subfamily Mimosaceae, and I think that's where you get the Barbadian name Miramasi. Yeah, Miramasi from Mimosaceae. Okay. Um, so the scientific name of this one is Lucina leucocephala. Leucocephala, talking about leuco for white and cephala for head. Okay, leucocephala. What's really interesting here, we were talking about how seeds were formed. You can see here the pods being developed, yes? And then if you look back, you can see a younger one here. So this
All right, guys, look at the leaf. Looking at the leaf, this might look familiar for real. Look at the leaf and look at what's this plant. I believe I have one of these plants. I'm not sure as yet, but the leaf look very familiar. So, but also listen to what he's saying.
is not a flower, this is a multitude of flowers. Yes? And from that multitude of flowers emerges a multitude of pods. Okay? So this plant was introduced into the Caribbean to provide poles, fodder for animals. Um, it's a fast growing tree, so it's easy to use for live fences. It fertilizes the earth as a legume. As a legume, it's a nitrogen fixer, so it encourages nitrogen fixing bacteria down in the roots. It has a multitude of uses. However, it is poisonous. Okay, the plant contains a toxin, um, mimosine. Mimosine, again, close to the word myrmacea, right? Mimosine. Um, when this plant was introduced into New Zealand and Australia to try to feed the livestock over there, it killed the livestock. So what the scientists did, they went back to Hawaii where the plant comes from, and from the stomachs of the sheep there, they took bacteria, a fluid, and then took that to Australia and put it in the water. So when the sheep drank that water, the bacteria got established in their guts, and when they now ate the plant and chewed their cud, right, the bacteria were able to break down the poison. Now, Barbadian farmers are very well aware of that poison, and they will tell you that the river tamarind will cause the pig to lose weight and cause the pig to shed its hair. The pig, unlike the sheep, doesn't chew its cud and has no chamber of bacteria inside. Yeah, so it's toxic to non-ruminants. Yeah.
Right, so you were telling us about using the lime
Yeah,
for
well,
baths.
yeah, well, the lime, as you know, is part of the citrus family, and has a very lemony, kind of very nice flavor. And sometimes when you got a lot of heat and stuff, you use the lime like tea to help cool you. Or sometimes, if you want a bath, you use some of the leaves and either steep it in hot water,
Hmm.
or you can scrub it and then put it in the bath.
She's talking about lemon leaf. That's a lemon tree there. So what she's saying, they use the lemon leaf to take bath, which that's true, and they also used to use it and make tea as well. So lemon leaf, people actually use that to listen to what she said.
Bath water. And we all know that I come along and see the elders and the old people, using lime a lot. Whether you see, whether in different types of baths, if you have issue on your skin, and they always say it's something, it's can't because very acidic. And I help you with colds. If you have a cold, they will do lime and honey or lime and salt. And within Barbados culinary habits, the cultural habits, they use lime and salt in all the meat, clean the meat, cut all the grease and the fats and rub and cut the freshness, as you would say.
And as you were saying, in washing, and you said we need lime and salt in white clothes
Yes,
out on a
and
big rock
on a big rock, yes.
to get out rust
Rust and
stains
different things like
and
that.
get them white and bleach. That was the first bleach I knew about.
Right.
Was
So
lime and salt.
so lime is used, and you always say if they give you lime, make a beautiful cup of lemonade. Yeah, because that's the way that they tell you no matter what you have, make the best
Oh yes, yes.
of what you have.
If you give me lemons, I'll make
If he
lemonade.
give you lemons, I give you lemonade.
Well,
You
if you
know,
give me limes, I'll make
get
lime juice.
lime juice. You know, so that's what we use lime for.
I'm sure everybody recognizes the citrus, right? The lime, sometimes called key lime or Bajan lime. Um, so many uses. The leaves, of course, make a very refreshing tea. The fruit is, of course, very valuable for making juices and so on, but and rich in vitamin, in ascorbic acid, like other like other citrus plants. Not as rich as the Bajan cherry, of course, but still very valuable. In in the past, it was used. It was one of the handiest acids to come across. You know, citric acid. You could use it for removing stains and for treating your skin. It said that when people were clearing the manchineel to make the first plantations here in Barbados, of course, their skins would burn. People clearing the manchineel naked, and they learned that rubbing lime prevented and soothed the burn from the manchineel. The lime has the reputation of cutting, you know, cutting, changing the properties of things that it touches. And so in the spiritual traditions, lime was often used as a cutter. Um, when people were preparing the dead, for example, when washing the dead, limes were often involved, you know, um, partly to say goodbye, to cut, you know, and partly to preserve. Um, Louis Lynch describes the Barbadian practice of going down to the beach on the morning to cut bad luck from you. So he says on the first Monday of any month, you would see people down on the beach and they would cut the limes and then throw them over the shoulders into the water. They would have a particular grass with them as well. And then they'll walk out of the water not looking back so as to spiritually leave that bad luck, that ill fortune behind. Right? It's a
Yes, that's
Barbadian
right.
tradition I heard of, but today the remnants of that is that quite a few people, more than you would believe, carry a lime in their cash box or in their back pocket just for good luck.
So, sis, you were talking
You'll
about.
notice that a lot of the plants that we looked at are very close to the house or very close to the farm. In fact, many of them are international weeds, right? Plants that are found anywhere in the
Yeah.
tropics. The African alighting from the ship in chains would have recognized some of these plants. The European would have looked around and thought, yeah, this is a strange place. The African would have looked around and thought, oh, I see the plant that I'm going to use to kill you, right? Wild plants now up in the mountain, with the majority of Barbados is wild plants are up there, and are not very familiar to us, right? And many of them are not known as medicinal plants. See, so down here there's some 300 weeds and plants of agriculture, whereas up there are another 700 species that are indigenous to the Caribbean.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have had a fantastic conversation with Sister Irika Jelani, Dr. Anthony Richards, Ras Isles, right here on the Ngozi's Farm and Cultural Sanctuary. This has been a production of the National Cultural Foundation. I'm Aisha Gibson Gill. Walk good.
All right. Okay, guys. How was it, guys? How was it? How was it? To me, it's very interested, very interested. You know, there's so much natural remedies out there, but you don't know about them, and sometimes they by you seeing them by the roadside, you seeing them in your backyard, you seeing them all over the place, but we have no idea what they really but they really are. But the good thing about it, you see, when you come when you rail up with your grandparents, That was definitely all right. Good eats. Yes, it was. It really was. Like when when you rail up wrong your grandparents because your grandparents knows a lot because this is what their parents used to be using and their grandmother used to be using. So that information was passing down. But now is not it don't pass down anymore because we lost a lot of this information. We lost a lot of this information. So to watch something like this, it kind of bring back memories. It bring back memories where I remember when your grandmother gonna say, "Hey, go out and pull apart a man life." That's a plan. Go outside and cut a aloe, cut a piece of aloe for me, prick a pray. The plants them was just there, and to able to identify the plants them is such a blessing. But as always, the dosage make you have to, if you with any herb, anything you're using, herb, whatever, you cannot overdo it. You always got to make sure you start small. Don't try to overdo it and take too much because, like we hear the guy was saying, and the lady, you have to sometimes you got to watch the dosage. And also sometimes we got to be careful with the plants them as well because you see, sure we have plants there. The plants, but he say it have toxins. So all these things we got to look out to. This is why we got to do our research, and this is why the Herb Garden Challenge on Planter Garden TV means a lot. I'm not sure if people really understand the benefit of learning. You see how when you watch the video, and you watch other people them walking around and they know the plants. They know the plant, they know what they're for. You see what I'm saying? They know the plants them they have, they know what's they for. Look the one that they say that if a woman have a baby and at the time her breast is not producing any milk, all she had was to do go and take a piece of the leaf, wrap it up, push it in a bra, and that will pull. That because with a leaf do it pulls. Just like what they say, it's also information, mucus. It pulls it out. Like you have a cold, it draws the mucus out. You have information in your system, it draws it out. So when the woman put it there, it pulls. So you see how amazing these things are? These things is amazing, guys. So this is the benefit. If anyone in here don't know about Planter Garden TV, please check out Planter Garden TV. Let me put it in the link. Please check out Planter Garden TV. We have a herb garden challenge that we did last year that we're going to continue for next year. You could join for free. All you got to do, grow some herbs and just keep them nice. And in June, that's when we choose the winners. So this is why we're promoting this, man, because just look at this. You see the amount of information gain from this video because you actually walking around with one the guy, he say he's a doctor, and then you have the man is a herbalist and the woman is a herbalist. They actually could walk around on their farm and identify the plants there. You know why? Because they grow up and they see their great grandmother, they see their grandmother, they see, so all this information was passing down, it never slip away. So this is why it's so important. It's important to learn about these plants. You watch them in your yard, you watch them by the roadside, and all you see them as weeds. You have no idea that these little herbs and these little weeds you see the benefit. So educate ourselves about these things. It's such a blessing. And you see how what? You see how comfortable they are? They're comfortable. How they comfortable? You ain't see no fancy house, you ain't see no fancy car, but guess what? They have land. And guess what? The land is full of riches. What riches? What riches I'm talking about? I'm not talking about money. Yes, yes, the benefit. Oh, yes. I believe it or not, that's riches. That's gold. That is actually gold. You understand? Not even money could buy that. What we now see there. Money can't buy that. Lots of health benefit, land and life. Yes, you could see the people them comfortable. They have all the herbs there that they could, and the good thing about it, they know the herbs and they know the benefit. And how they know the benefit? Because they're experienced with the benefit. You see, this is the thing, man, and this is what I just always talk about. Proof, you know what I'm saying, or actually doing it. Don't go. You can't be googling it and then you want to tell me. You actually got to be there. You see that they're there, so they know if their stomach hurt them, they know what leaf to go and pick. If they have a cold, they know exactly which leaf to go and pick to draw that cold out of them. They have a stomach situation. They know exactly where to go to get that leaf or that bush or that root to fix that. Why? Because that information passed on from way back. Grandparents, grand, everything, man, for real. Let me see the benefit. Let me see. Love that they mention everything in mother. Yes, yes, yes. So yes, that I tell you from the beginning. I'm good eats. You remember I tell you it's a good video. Yes, it's a really good video with lots of information. And believe it or not, some of these plants is up here. Even a noonie plant that the know was showing there, it's up here. I know purchased one the other day from someone. It's up here, and that plant is loaded with benefit. But you know, guys, as always, we always put the disclaimer. Always speak to your doctor. You know, this is informational purpose only. Always speak to your doctor before proceeding using any of these product or herbs you saw in this video. Okay, all right. So yes, guys, thank you guys for coming through, man. I appreciate you guys coming through. I hope this video motivate you guys. I hope this video has inspired you in somehow. You know, shout out to NCF Barbados for this video. This is a really amazing video. They break down everything, guys. They break down everything. They break it down to the bone for us. You know what I'm saying? I show you the herbs. Beautiful, man. Yes, guys. So thanks as always, man. Shout out to you guys. Don't forget, we'll be back here next Friday night. And sometime we do pop-up as well. All right? So thank you guys for coming through. I appreciate you guys. Peace and love and blessing. You guys have a blessed and wonderful weekend. Blessing to all. All right, good eats. All right, OG living life. All right, life from scratch. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. And everyone who come in tonight, You guys have a blessed and wonderful weekend. All right? Peace and love. Thank you, guys.